Hey everybody, Mike Iaconelli back out here in the shop with the last installment of how to fish a Tokyo rig. Man, this series has been so much fun, and we've shown you 3 other methods on rigging the Tokyo. Of course, we started with flipping and pitching and punching heavy cover with a big heavy duty hook, a beaver style bait, getting into that cover with a big weight. Great system for a Tokyo rig. We moved to traditional, more sparse cover, open water fishing, normal sized plastics, right? Straight tail worms, ribbon tail worms, a lighter weight, another great system to fish the Tokyo. And then in the last installment, we talked about fishing a Tokyo rig deep with swim baits for fish that have never seen this style movement on the bait. What a great way to fish a Tokyo rig. But in this last edition, we're going to talk about fishing a Tokyo rig finesse style. Finesse style. And remember, since this system launched 6 years ago, every year it seems like we're figuring out different ways to fish the Tokyo rig. So this is number 4, and it's fishing a Tokyo rig with finesse. You know, a lot of those other Tokyo systems we talked about, we were talking about bigger baits, heavier line, heavy cover. But you can fish a Tokyo rig light with lighter weights, smaller baits, and finesse, and gain all the benefits of Tokyo rigging just like you can with power fishing. VMC, their last launch of the Tokyo system was this Tokyo rig with a finesse Nico hook. And I'm going to open it up and let you look at it. And it's the same system with a finesse style hook. And when I open that pack, you're going to see, I sound like a broken record, but you're going to see it. There's that barrel swivel right there. There's that black barrel swivel attached to a welded or closed ring. On that closed ring on the bottom is our black rigid wire, open wire 3 inches long. That's where we're going to slide our weight onto. And on this finesse Tokyo rig, there's that finesse Tokyo hook. From real little sizes of number 2 all the way up to 2 and 3/0, you can find a finesse hook that matches the bait you're going to fish, right? So there's our finesse setup. Now, because this is a finesse hook, I'm going to use more finesse style plastics. Thin worms, goby style baits, little tiny thin plastics, right? Finesse style plastics. I'm going to show you 2 of my favorites real quick. This one is a brand new one by Berkeley Power Bait called a water bug. And when you look at this water bug, it's a lot smaller than the other plastics we've been fishing on the Tokyo rig, right? It's only 4 inches. It's a thinner style bait with a flat bottom. And this happens to be, this is a number 1 VMC Nico hook on this Tokyo rig. And the great thing about this finesse Nico hook is you can rig it with smaller plastics multiple ways. So a lot of times when I'm fishing that water bug around sparse cover, I'll Texas rig it, right? Look at this. I go 1/8 of an inch into the water bug, pop it out of the head, flat side down. I bring it around past that little fluorocarbon keeper on that finesse Nico, and I'll Texas rig that water bug, right? So look at it. Now I've got a small little plastic Texas rigged. I'm going to show you the weight in a second, and I can put a lighter weight on this with lighter line and finesse this Tokyo rig, just like I did with those power methods. The other plastic that I love on this more finesse application of a Tokyo rig is whatever your favorite soft stick bait is. Berkeley General, Senko style baits, or this one right here, which is pretty special, which is a Berkeley power bait flute worm. It's 5 inches, look at it. It's a very thin tail, more finesse worm. And especially in open water situations, more open water, fishing around docks, around bridge pilings, down bluff walls, over long points, I take that flute worm or soft stick bait like a General, and I take that Finesse Nico hook and I wacky rig it, okay? So now, think about this. We've got a Tokyo rig with a smaller, lighter wire hook, with a smaller, thinner plastic, and now let's finish this off with a smaller, more finesse weight. For sure, you can use small tungsten bullet weights. On this finesse rig, I've used bullet weights that are a 32nd of an ounce, a 16th of an ounce, an 1/8 of an ounce, and it's a nice weight. You can put it point down, point up. But on this Finesse Tokyo system, I found another VMC specialty weight that is the deal. And this is that VMC tungsten slider weight. Tungsten slider weight. And I want you to look at this weight because it's got a lot of really cool attributes to it. And this tungsten slider is basically a longer cylinder or barrel style weight. It's got a hole in either end, right? And these come in sizes from an 1/8 all the way up to 1/2 ounce. But when I'm using it on this Tokyo Finesse system, I like those lighter weights. This one right here is a 3/16 of an ounce. It's perfect. And I'm going to get that VMC tungsten slider. There's that VMC Tokyo Finesse with that Nico Finesse hook. And I'm going to add it right to that open wire, just like the other weights we used, right? There it goes. It's going straight on that wire. Now it's on that rigid 3-inch wire. I'm going to get my pliers. I'm going to make that R-bend. I'm going to close that wire up just like we keep talking about. I like to close it all the way. There you go. On the fly, if I need to go to a heavier tungsten slider, I open up that bend, I put a heavier weight on. If I need to go to a lighter weight, an 1/8 ounce, I can open up that R-bend, drop the tungsten slider on. I can change on the fly without ever retying. But look at that. I want you to look at that cylinder weight on that Tokyo wire. It's longer and more compact. And the benefit of that when I'm finesse fishing is it goes over stuff with ease. It slides over stuff, right? It doesn't sort of create a lot of racket. It slides across the bottom in a more finesse system. It's still got a little sound, right? Because it's made of tungsten. It still hits that R-bend. But that tungsten slider is a more finesse presentation for this Tokyo rig, and it won't get caught. That long barrel style, cylinder style weight just glides through it all, and it's a lot more subtle. So, you know, in finesse fishing, this Tokyo system, it's all the same, right? A 4-inch worm, the water bug, a grub, a Ned bait, a wacky rig. I'm going to fish it the same exact way. Here we've got that flute worm, 3/16 ounce weight. I love to fish this thing around vertical cover. A dock face, bridge pilings, a seawall, a bluff wall. And when I throw that bait out there wacky rigged, look what that weight's doing. As that bait falls, you're getting that same inchworm movement of the bait, right? Look at it. Look at it. Boom, boom. There's that flute worm. Boom, boom, boom. But that weight, it's like a ball and chain. That weight's not attached to it. So it doesn't impede that action at all. So your wacky, your inching, that inchworm movement is more pronounced because that weight, that VMC tungsten slider weight is on the Tokyo wire. So it's not messing with the movement of the bait. Ball and chain, right? Weight going down, bait behind it like a ball and chain with a lot of action. That's a different movement than rigging that on, say, a wacky jig head or rigging it on a ball head. It's a different, freer movement. Once that bait hits the bottom, look at that rigid wire with the weight on the bottom. Unlike a drop shot where your leader on the bottom is fluorocarbon or mono, and the weight of that Nico hook pulls it down. But on this Finesse Tokyo system, when I throw it out there, it inchworms down, it gets to the bottom, it hits the bottom, and I shake my rod tip. Look at this. That wire's rigid. That weight stays on the bottom, and the wacky rig or little finesse Texas rig stays high off the bottom, 3 inches, unimpeded by the weight. Better action, more natural action. And last but not least, in finesse fishing, fish are finicky, right? Think about that. Heavily pressured fish, clean water, crystal clear water, post-frontal conditions, bluebird sky, high pressure. Those fish don't bite it and hold on to it, right? They're active fish. They're fish that are feeding. Fish in finesse situations, dude, they nibble at it. They bite it, hold it for a second, and spit it out, right? If that weight was connected to that bait, if it was a wacky rig or a finesse shaky head or a finesse Texas rig, they grab it and that weight is in their mouth and they say, that ain't real, and they spit it out. But what about on this Finesse Tokyo system? Look at this. The fish eat it. All they have is the bait and the hook. They don't feel that wire. They don't feel that weight. They don't feel the jig head in their mouth. It's all plastic. It's more natural. They're going to hold on to it longer. And when you set the hook, and we're going to talk about the rod and reel, when you set the hook, it's all hook. There's no weight to get in the way. That weight and wire down here, 20% more fish in the boat because it's a Tokyo system. Once again, just like the other 3 Tokyo methods we talked about, here's the great thing about this Tokyo rigging system. When you're using the Tokyo Finesse, guess what rod and reel you're using and line? The same exact rod, reel, and line that you'd use with a wacky rig, that you'd use with a Ned head, a light shaky head, same rod and reel. And on this Finesse Tokyo rig, this is that Finesse VMC Nico hook on there, I prefer to use spinning tackle. So I'm Tokyo rigging with Finesse with spinning tackle. And I like a 7 to 7.4 medium action spinning rod. One of my favorites for the Tokyo rig is the 7.2 medium action Finesse rod by Abu Garcia. It's the Ike series rod. I pair that with a 20 or 30 size spinning reel. The Ike Revo is what I use. And with a line, the same exact line you're already using. There's no specialty tackle here, right? It's the same stuff. So when I'm finessing this Tokyo rig, my favorite setup is braid to a fluorocarbon leader. And I'm a big fan of the Berkley X5 braid. I like that 10 pound. I like to use the white, the crystal color, because I can see it with my eyes. And then I use a long 3 to 5 foot, 8 to 6 pound Berkley fluorocarbon leader. That braid the fluoro leader gives me the benefit of casting distance, zero stretch, and positive hook sets. So rod, reel, line for Finesse Tokyo rigging, exactly the same as you'd use for your regular finesse fishing methods. I'm glad we ended this one with this one because I want to remind you, Tokyo rigging, this system, the swivel, the welded eye, the hook, away from the weight on a wire is still relatively new. And in addition to these 4 methods, you can come up with your own Tokyo rigging systems. This isn't old, this is new. Sky's the limit on how you can fish the Tokyo rig, but the one commonality on all these methods is presenting a lure with more and unique action, letting the weight take the brunt of the abuse, dragging it around shells and zebra mussels and barnacles. Let the weight take the abuse. Getting that bait off the bottom, right? Rigid wire. The lure can be 3 to 2 to 1 inches off the bottom. You can modify that wire. And last but not least, 20% more fish in the boat because the weight is not connected to the hook. These are all the benefits of Tokyo rigging. Try all of them. Try the flipping pitching method, the regular worm method, that's deep water swim bait method. And last but not least, try that finesse Tokyo method. I guarantee you're going to put more fish in the boat. I hope you enjoyed the series on Tokyo rigging. I know I did. If you're interested in this stuff and you're not a subscriber, take a second, hit that subscribe button, subscribe to the channel. We've got great content coming to you every single week. If you're already subscribed to Mike Iaconelli Fishing on YouTube, tell a fishing friend. They're going to love this hardcore educational content. Hope you enjoyed the series on Tokyo rigging. Good luck, good fishing. Get you a Tokyo rig. You're going to catch more fish.